Once we have our project ready for the cut and scoring, we need to nest it onto a piece of paper. Usually the piece of paper that we use for a laser cutter is, well, it could range from anything like wood, acrylic, cardboard, chipboard. Typically we use a museum mount because it's a fairly easy material to cut and it comes out fairly clean as well. So the laser cutter table size, the maximum material it can handle is 24 by 37.5 with about a 1/4 inch of border space. So anywhere within the space you should be able to nest all your, just put all your stuff in there like so. So you can haphazardly put anything on here, or try to be a little smart about it and nest everyone's project so that you will try to get all this, so we're not wasting any part of this board. Move this maybe in here. Maybe if we rotate it, it will work better. Rotate. So on and so on. So you shouldn't have too much of these parts that you won't be using, and minimize the spoils. But a museum mount comes in a board that is basically 32 by 40 inch. So the overall board is 32 by 40 inch, but only 24 by 37.5 can be used. So all of this part you're going to have to cut out and basically waste it or use it for other material parts. But instead, if you are purchasing the board yourself and you want to maximize the use every square inch of that board as possible, what you might want to do is just take that 32 by 40 inch board and just cut it in half. So you will have a 32 by 20 inch material, which will still fit onto the space where the table is, 24 by 37, but you won't have to waste any of the material because all you have to do is nest the material, nest your project onto this as much as possible, and you basically have 2 sheets to work with, right? So now you'll have 2 sheets to work with, 0 waste. Okay. For our project, what we're going to do is to go this route because we don't want to waste as much paper as we possibly can. We're just going to use the 32 by 20 inch board. We're going to divide that up into about 8 sections, and you are going to nest your project, each one of your individual project, into these bays. Like if we take this guy and move it in here, that should somewhat work. If we take this guy and rotate it, that would pretty much fit onto that space. So you individually, you will have one of these to work with. Okay. However, if your stuff is a little bit bigger, you can, one, negotiate with your neighbors and say, okay, can I take over part of your stuff or something? And they might say no. Well, this guy might say yes, I'm not using this portion, so yeah, you could take over. But this guy says, hey, wait a minute, you're taking over some parts of my space that's gonna interfere with what I want to cut. So in that case, you may have to negotiate with other of your classmates and try to nest it finally. For our project though, it shouldn't really matter. If your project is a little bit too big for the site or for your portion of the project, all you really have to do is take this thing and scale it. Let's say from here, oops, scale, select the object. From here, basically scale it down so that it will fit. Because really, we're not really doing anything that is to an actual scale right now. If you are doing a real project where the scale is important, like, you know, 2 inches has to be 2 inches. If the building is at, let's just say, 1/8 in scale and such. Okay, but for this, what we're doing right now, I don't think it really matters because we're just messing with the forms anyway. So as long as your project can fit onto your individual parts, individual real estate, you should be okay with that. Okay, so something like this, move previous, right? Okay, do try to keep about 1/4 inch away from all edges if possible, because that may not cut. So as soon as everybody is nested, we'll take this thing and try to get it cut on the laser machine. Oh yeah, this individual part, by the way, is about 8 inch by 10 inch. Okay, so distance from there to there, it is 8 inches. So this guy would be 8 by 10. Whoops. So let's just work so that you can have your object in that 8 by 10 inch space, and you should be pretty good. Okay, again, make sure that you have your cut layer, your score layer, and then to make sure that you could fit into this 8 by 10 space.